reproduction in flowering plants. So today I am going to give you a quick revision of that topic and also explain one important heading of that topic. So first of all, what are angiosperms? Angiosperms are those plants in which flowers are present. If in any plant flower is present, flower is the important characteristic of that plant, then that plant is considered as angiospermic plant or angiosperm. So the body of angiosperms are diploid body. Why? Because these body are formed by the fusion of male and female gamete. Male gamete is haploid, another female gamete is haploid. And when both these haploid gametes fuse together, then they form the diploid body of angiospermic plants. And in all angiospermic plants, the flower is the most important character and also the reproductive organ of the plant. That means it is the reproductive structure, the reproduction process which occurs in angiospermic plants is done because of flower only. Now coming to the flower, there are four important whorls or four important parts of the flower, and these parts are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are considered as non-essential parts of the flower. Why? Because it does not participate in the process of reproduction. But its opposite, androecium and gynoecium, they are known as essential parts of the flower because they both participate in the process of reproduction. So this calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, this is the sequence of these parts from outermost to innermost. That means calyx is the outermost part of the flower. Inside calyx, corolla is present. Inside the corolla, androecium is present, and inside androecium, gynoecium is present. The unit of calyx is sepals, the unit of corolla are petals, the unit of androecium is stamen, and the unit of gynoecium is pistil or carpels. So now let's talk about their function. The function of calyx is to protect the flower in its birth stage. When the flower was in its birth stage, then the function of corolla is to protect it from the environmental conditions. And then came corolla. Corolla is colorful and it helps to attract insects for pollination. Insects attract towards the flower because of corolla. The colorful petals of the flower attracts insects, and when insects come there to suck nectar of the flower, with that process they also help in pollination. After that there came an androecium. Androecium is a male reproductive part of a flower, and gynoecium is a female reproductive part of a flower. Now coming to different types of flowers, there are two types. Number first is unisexual and number second is bisexual. Unisexual flowers are those flowers in which only one reproductive organ is present. Either it is androecium or gynoecium. If any one reproductive organ, either androecium or gynoecium, is present in the flower, that means that flower is unisexual flower. You can see this condition in the flowers of papaya and also in the flowers of watermelon. The second type is bisexual flower. Bisexual flowers are those flowers in which both the reproductive organs are present. That means androecium and gynoecium both are present in the flower. That flower is considered as bisexual flower. You can see this condition is hibiscus flower or in mustard flower. Now coming to male sex organ of the flower. Male sex organ is androecium and the unit of androecium is stamen. So stamen consists of two important parts. Number first is filament and number second is anther. Filament is the long pipe and anther is the swollen part of the stamen. Inside the anther, many pollen grains are present, and that pollen grains will furtherly help in the process of reproduction. And also this stamen is yellowish in color. And now coming to female sex organ, the female sex organ is gynoecium and its unit is pistil or carpel. So this pistil or carpel is formed by four important parts. The basal part of the pistil, in which the whole structure is situated, is known as thalamus, and then the base, which is swollen, is known as ovary. Inside the ovary, one or many ovules are present, and there came a style which helps to connect ovary and stigma. And the first uppermost part of the pistil is stigma. Stigma is sticky in nature. Why? Because these pollen grains came to stick in a stigma in the process of pollination. So this is about the structure of flower and their reproductive parts. Now coming to the process of sexual reproduction. So the first process is formation of male germ cells. How these male germ cells are formed? These male germ cells are formed by the process of pollination. When these pollen grains are stick in stigma, there they form male germ cells. That means this anther when came and stick in the sticky part of this ovary and stick in the stigma. In the stigma, on there only, the process of development of male germ cells or male gametes take place. The formation of male gametes occur in stigma only. And now the second process is formation of female gametes. Formation of female gametes is done inside the ovary. Ovary contains one or many ovules inside it. And inside the ovules, megaspores are developed. These megaspores are specialized structure for reproduction. These megaspores give birth to germ cells. How? One cell remains alive and that one cell give rise to embryo sac. And inside the embryo sac, development of female germ cells take place. Now the male germ cells are formed on stigma and female germ cells are formed inside ovary. Now came the third process, which is fertilization and seed germination. This process is done inside the ovary. How? The pollen tube which is formed on stigma starts to go towards the ovule, and it goes towards ovule through style. And when it goes there, it reaches there, it penetrates the ovule. And when it penetrates the ovule, it goes inside the embryo sac, there it bursts. And when it bursts, so all the pollen grains which are present inside it, they came out, and then the fertilization takes place. And the male germ cells are fused with female germ cells, and with that fertilization happens, and other remaining cells fertilized with polar nuclei, and they give to the special structure which helps to provide nutrition to the plant. And now there came a fourth condition, which is post-fertilization changes and seed formation. What is post-fertilization changes? So I told you about fertilization. After fertilization, these ovary ripen, and this ripened ovary is considered as fruit. When this ovary ripened, fruit is formed. After that, all the other structures, that means petals, sepals, stigma, style, stamen, all these shiver and fall off. And when all these fall off, then only the ripened ovary is present there. After that, internally zygotes start germination, and when it germinates, ovules become seed. Now seed contains germinating embryo, that means inside the fruit now seed is also present, and seed contains germinating ovule. This seeds germinate and forms seedling. Seedling has two important parts, plumule and radicle. Plumule is that part which grows into the shoot. The shoot means the upper part of the plant body, the body which is present above the earth's surface, that means stem, leaves, branches. That shoot is formed by plumule of the seed, and the second part is root, which is formed by radicle. These radicle give rise to the roots. So students, this is a quick revision of this chapter. I hope you all will understand it. Watch this video again and clear all your doubts. Thank you.
Hello students, myself Anand Saini. I am your chemistry tutor. Let's start to learn chemistry. Okay students, now we are discussing our chapter, and the chapter is periodic classification of elements. Okay, now we are discussing our specific topic from this chapter. Here comes the topic is number first. The very first topic is the typical elements, and another topic is not today in this class. We are discussing only two topics. Okay. Very first topic is the typical elements, and other next topic is diagonal relationship. So let's start. What is this exactly? In the board examination आपसे जो question पूछते हैं ना बेटा, वो directly ऐसे ही आता है कि write down the short notes on typical elements. What do you mean by the typical elements? What are the representative elements? Otherwise question are also asked in the examination like objective form में भी आपसे पूछते हैं. तो objective form में वो आपसे पूछते हैं आपको कोई 4 ऑप्शंस गिवन होंगे, उनमें से कोई एक जो आपका ऑप्शन रहता है ना, उनमें से वो आपसे पूछ रहे होते हैं कि which one is typical element, and you have given 4 options. Okay, so let's start. Our topic is typical element. So what is typical element? Too much easy. Statement is the elements in modern periodic table, the elements from the second and third, generally third period. Okay, so the elements of third period known as typical elements. Simple statement is the elements of third period are known as typical elements. The elements of third period are known as typical elements. Got it? This is the exactly specific simple statement, and the statement is in modern periodic table the elements are belonging from the third period are known as typical elements. Okay, so look at here, some examples are given here. Second period and third period. Okay students, so here comes the typical elements. So once more, your statement is what are the typical elements? So your statement is the typical elements are belonging from the third period. Okay, so the elements of third period are known as typical elements. Okay, it is according to the modern periodic table. Now these elements are also known as representative elements. Why? Because they are the captain of their group. Actually these elements are resemble the properties of whole group. Exactly, देखिए क्या कह रहे हैं आपसे कि ये जो ग्रुप एलिमेंट्स होते हैं ना, ये एलिमेंट्स अपने ग्रुप का होता है कैप्टन. जैसी इसकी प्रॉपर्टी होगी वैसे ही प्रॉपर्टी इसी ग्रुप के और एलिमेंट्स की भी होती है, ऐसा इनसे हमें पता चल जाता है. That's why they are the representative elements or known as the captains also. Okay, so group wise actually this is the group first, second, okay. These are the group. Here comes the period. So the statement once more, in modern periodic table the elements of third group the elements of third period are known as okay. So exactly in modern periodic table the elements from of third period are known as typical element. They are also known as representative elements and also known as bridging element. अच्छा बेटा, ये जो एलिमेंट्स होते हैं इनको हम लोग रिप्रेजेंटेटिव एलिमेंट्स बोलते हैं. क्यों बोलते हैं? एक्चुअली बिहाफ ऑफ द कैप्टन. एक्चुअली ये जो एलिमेंट्स होते हैं ना, कैप्टन होते हैं अपने ग्रुप के. एक जो पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप है ना, स्पेसिफिक, ये जो फर्स्ट ए वाला ग्रुप होता है ना, जैसे हम लोग मान ले थोड़ी देर के लिए फर्स्ट ए का जो ग्रुप रहता है उसमें बहुत सारे एलिमेंट है, लिंक की से फ्रेंडशिप, वो जितने भी एलिमेंट्स हैं, अगर आपको सोडियम की प्रॉपर्टी पता है ना, तो सोडियम Na जैसे सोडियम की प्रॉपर्टी होगी वैसे ही इस ग्रुप में रखे हुए और एलिमेंट की प्रॉपर्टी होगी. दैट्स व्हाई दे आर रिप्रेजेंटेटिव एलिमेंट्स, कि ये अपने ग्रुप की प्रॉपर्टी को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, रिसेंबल करते हैं. ओके, सो ओके, दिस इज आल्सो नोन एज ब्रिज एलिमेंट्स. अभी हम लोग पढ़ेंगे अलग से और ब्रिज एलिमेंट क्या होते हैं. ओके, तो उसका डिस्कशन अलग से ही कर लेंगे. सो एग्जैक्टली दिस इज स्टेटमेंट. अभी आपसे जब ऑब्जेक्टिव में क्वेश्चन आता है तो ऑब्जेक्टिव में आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं कि दिस इज द क्वेश्चन, व्हिच वन इज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव एलिमेंट्स. तो उसमें आपसे जो ऑप्शन मिलेगा वो आपको बहुत सारे ऑप्शन मिल जाएंगे. लाइक ऑप्शन इज योर ए, दिस इज द क्वेश्चन आपसे ऑब्जेक्टिव में ऐसे पूछ रहे होंगे, वो बोलेंगे विच वन इज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव एलिमेंट. सो विच वन इज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव एलिमेंट, यू लुक एट इट, you have the definition. According to the definition, the elements from third period. थर्ड पीरियड का होगा ना जो भी एलिमेंट, बस वही होता है रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, वही होता है टिपिकल एलिमेंट. तो कौन सा इसमें थर्ड पीरियड में है? तो थर्ड पीरियड का एलिमेंट आपको दिखाई पड़ जाएगा कि आपका फास्फोरस है. दैट्स व्हाई योर आंसर इज फास्फोरस. गॉट इट? दिस इज अ सिंपल. ओके, योर नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट Okay, now we are discussing about the diagonal relationship. What is diagonal relationship? Easy है. देखो बेटा, diagonal से आपको पता चलता है ना, diagonal is the sign. Okay, look at it. Actually, in modern periodic table, some elements of second group and some elements of third group are resembled to their properties in diagonal form. It is known as diagonal relationship. Got it? In modern periodic table, some elements from second and third period are resembled with their properties in diagonal form. This is known as diagonal relationship. What is the mean, exactly mean of this statement? तो ऐसे आपसे बोलते हैं ना कि आप जब मॉडर्न पीरियडिक टेबल देखोगे इसी वाले में, अभी आपने जो सेकंड और थर्ड पीरियड देखा था ना, वहीं पे कुछ एलिमेंट्स ऐसे मिलेंगे. सम एलिमेंट्स आर डायगोनली रिलेटेड विद ईच अदर, रिसेंबल देयर प्रॉपर्टीज. Like look at here, second period and the third period. So now this is exactly, this relationship is known as diagonal relationship. Okay, So what is diagonal relationship? Actually the statement is, in modern periodic table the elements of second period and third period resemble their properties in diagonal form. It is known as diagonal relationship. Okay, so your statement is, in modern periodic table elements of second and third period Okay, so here comes the statement. In modern periodic table, some elements of second and third period are resemble their properties in diagonal form. It is known as diagonal relationship. Okay, so what is the exactly mean? Exactly mean क्या होगा? तो एक्चुअली होता ये है कि जो आप देख रहे हो, मैंने आपसे बोला ना, सम एलिमेंट्स, सारे नहीं, थोड़े बहुत एलिमेंट्स होते हैं जो अपनी कुछ एक प्रॉपर्टीज, पूरी नहीं, थोड़ी थोड़ी कुछ सम प्रॉपर्टीज वो रिसेंबल करते हैं, पूरी प्रॉपर्टी नहीं मिलेगी, है ना। जैसे लिथियम की कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज स्पेसिफिक रहती हैं, वो स्पेसिफिक प्रॉपर्टीज मैग्नीशियम के जैसे शो होती हैं, ऐसे बेरिलियम की जो प्रॉपर्टी है वो एल्यूमिनियम के जैसे, और बोरॉन की जो प्रॉपर्टी है वो सिलिकॉन के जैसे रिसेंबल होती हैं, एक जैसी प्रॉपर्टी रखते हैं। लेकिन कॉमन पॉइंट इज दिस, द वर्ड इज दिस, some elements of second and third period resemble their properties. So not exactly the all properties, there comes also some properties, थोड़ी बहुत प्रॉपर्टीज मिलती जुलती हैं। कौन कौन सी प्रॉपर्टी हैं? वो सारी प्रॉपर्टी हमें पढ़ने को मिलती हैं अपनी अपर क्लास में। कुछ एक थोड़े बहुत पॉइंट्स हमें 11th क्लास में पढ़ने को मिलेंगे, और इसके बाद में कुछ एक प्रॉपर्टीज आप जो पढ़ते हैं वो बीएससी की क्लास में, बीएससी प्रीवियस में आपको पढ़ने को मिलता है। बिल्कुल ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन जो आप पढ़ते हैं सबसे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बीएससी में पढ़ेंगे। ओके, अभी के लिए क्लास 10th की यहाँ पे आपसे केवल स्टेटमेंट पूछा जाता है, और ये पता होना चाहिए कि कौन सा एलिमेंट है जो डायगोनली रिलेट होता है, जैसे लिथियम और मैग्नीशियम, बेरिलियम और एल्यूमिनियम, बोरॉन और सिलिकॉन। आपको बस ये डायगोनल कौन कौन से रिलेट है केवल ये पता होना चाहिए। ओके, अकॉर्डिंग टू योर बोर्ड एग्जामिनेशन, अकॉर्डिंग टू योर सिलेबस, बस आपको स्टेटमेंट पता होना चाहिए और एलिमेंट पता होना चाहिए। ओके स्टूडेंट्स, सो ठीक है, आज की क्लास में बस इतना ही। थैंक यू।
Hello student, myself Sandeep Singh, teacher of Medical Constitution. Today I will teach you reflection of light. Pay attention all students. Source of energy is removed in class 10 physics. Then new chapter is reflection of light for unit per second. Then reflection of light. Today's heading is spherical mirror. Before video, I will study in this chapter what is light, reflection of light, law of light, mirror, plane mirror, types of mirror, plane mirror and spherical mirror. Spherical mirror, there are two types, convex mirror and concave mirror. Then what is spherical mirror? Spherical mirror. A spherical mirror is that mirror whose reflecting surface is the part of hollow sphere glass which has two surface, which has two surface. Then cut a cut of hollow glass spherical surface. Then this part has two surface. Then we polished with silver and red oxide of iron. Then this side is polished and this side is shiny surface. Then one cut of spherical. Then this cut is polished in inner side. Then outer side is shiny side. Then this is polished side and this is shining side. Then its shining surface is known as reflecting surface for light ray. Reflecting surface. And if we polished inner surface, then outer surface is reflecting surface for light ray. When a light ray intersects the outer surface of spherical glass plate, then after incident it is reflect to same medium from reflecting surface of spherical plate. Now it's known as reflecting surface. Reflecting surface. Reflecting surface. And this is polished surface. Polished surface. Silver, mercury and red oxide of iron. This surface we polished mercury with mercury and red oxide of iron polished. Then it is called concave mirror. It is called concave mirror because those internal surface is reflecting surface. Now this is outer surface is known as reflecting surface. Now it is called convex mirror. It is called convex mirror. It is called convex mirror. A spherical mirror is that mirror whose reflecting surface is the part of hollow spherical of glass. Hollow spherical of glass. Then cut of spherical. This is concave mirror, this is convex mirror. But what is convex mirror? That spherical mirror has one surface is reflecting surface. But what is convex mirror? That mirror has one surface of a spherical mirror reflecting surface. Now spherical mirror. spherical mirror is that mirror whose reflecting surface is that part of hollow spherical of glass which has two surfaces. Now, a cut piece of hollow glass spherical. This is cut piece. This is half cut piece of spherical glass. Now, which has two surface. It has two surface. Then one surface polished by mercury and red oxide of iron. Then this surface polished with mercury and red oxide iron, and second side is reflecting for light ray. Then it is called spherical mirror, but it has one surface is reflecting surface, but it is internal surface because it is called concave mirror. Concave mirror. What is concave mirror? I am explain that spherical mirror has internal side. That spherical mirror is internal side, reflecting side is known as concave mirror. Note this. Hello student, and next heading is some important headings related to spherical mirror. Spherical mirror. Now, this is a glass plate, a spherical glass plate of hollow glass. Now, one surface polished with silver and red oxide of iron. Then opposite side is reflected side, but this side is inner side of spherical mirror because it is called concave mirror. Now, this is mirror M1 and now related to some definition. First definition is pole, and second definition center of curvature. Center of curvature. And third definition is radius of curvature. First pole and second center of curvature, and third definition is radius of curvature and principal axis and focus. All definitions related to spherical mirror. Now I am explain all definitions. First of all, pole. Now this is reflected side. This is reflected surface. This is reflected surface, or this is polished surface. This is polished surface with silver. Polished with silver and red oxide of iron. Now, and second surface is reflected surface. Then what is pole? The The pole is midpoint of reflected side in spherical mirror. Reflected side midpoint. The pole is midpoint. The pole is midpoint of reflecting surface. You know, pole. The pole is midpoint of reflecting surface in spherical mirror. Is known as pole. It is represented by symbol P. Represented by symbol P. What is pole? The pole is midpoint of reflecting surface in the spherical mirror. Spherical mirror or as a concave mirror or convex mirror. Then center of curvature. We know that a spherical mirror, a cut piece of hollow glass ball. Now, which has a center point. Its center point is called center of curvature. Then invert. Then second definition, in other words, center of curvature. Reflecting surface has a center point. Reflecting surface has a center point in spherical mirror. It is called center of curvature. And second heading, in other words, spherical mirror is cut piece of hollow glass ball which has a center point. Its center point is called center of curvature. Now I am explaining a spherical mirror cut piece of hollow glass ball which has a center point. Cut piece. Then its inner side is reflected side. Then which has a center point. Its center point is center of curvature for concave mirror. But we polish in internal side. Then outer side is reflected side. It is convex. This is concave. Center of curvature in front of reflected side for concave mirror. Center of curvature behind the reflecting surface. For convex mirror. Both concave and convex mirror both has a center of curvature, but concave mirror has front of reflecting surface a center point. It is called center of curvature. But convex mirror has behind the reflected side a center point is called center of curvature. Now I am explaining radius of curvature. Then this is spherical mirror or it is reflecting surface. Now this is a center of curvature. Is represented by symbol C. The pole symbol is P and center of curvature of symbol is C. Now radius of curvature. Radius of curvature is a distance between center of curvature and pole. Center of curvature and pole. It is represented by symbol R. This is radius of curvature. Some definitions related to spherical mirror. First definition is pole. The pole is midpoint of reflecting surface in spherical mirror. Now it is represented by symbol P. Then second heading is center of curvature. We know that our spherical mirror is cut off piece a hollow glass ball. Now, which has a center point. Its center point is called center of curvature. Center of curvature for a spherical mirror. Now, radius of curvature. Radius of curvature is distance between the radius of curvature is distance between center of curvature and pole. Now, principal axis. Principal axis is a straight path line which throw from pole and the center of curvature. This line is principal axis and focus. Focus. What is focus? What is focus? The focus is midpoint. The focus is midpoint of radius of curvature. The focus is midpoint of radius of curvature. The focus is midpoint of the focus point is midpoint of radius of curvature for a spherical mirror. This is midpoint of radius of curvature. It is called focus, represented by capital F. And focal length. Focal length is distance between. Focal length is distance between focus and pole. It is represented by a small f. Now, all definitions I am explained in this diagram. So, first heading is pole and second heading is center of curvature and third heading is radius of curvature and fourth principal axis and fifth focus and focus length. Now, first pole. Pole is the midpoint of reflecting surface in a spherical mirror. The pole is midpoint of reflecting surface in the mirror. It is called pole. And second, center of curvature. What is center of curvature? We know that our spherical mirror a cut piece of hollow spherical glass ball. Now, which has a center. Its center point is called center of curvature for cut piece of hollow glass ball. Now, next heading is radius of curvature. What is radius of curvature? We know that what is radius? Radius is a distance. Radius is a distance between arc and center. Now, in this case, what is radius of curvature? I am explaining radius of curvature. The radius of curvature is a distance. The radius of curvature is a distance between center of curvature and pole. Center of curvature and pole. Radius of curvature is distance between center of curvature and pole. It is represented by symbol R. Center of curvature is represented by symbol C and pole is represented by symbol P. And principal axis. Principal axis is a straight line. Principal axis is a straight line which is travel from P to center line. Now it is called principal axis. What is focus and focal length? What is focus? Focus is a point. Now the focus is a midpoint of radius of curvature. The focus is midpoint between center of curvature and pole. And what is focal length? Focal length is a distance between focus to pole. Now I am explaining its our definition. Then its definition is very important for class 10th. Now I repeat one information for you. Source of energy is the chapter removed in the physics class 10. Then new chapter, reflection of light for unit test second. Now note this.
Good morning, students. Today in this video lecture, first of all, I am going to give a very important information related to your syllabus. Student, as you know, because of COVID-19, our government has decided to reduce 33% of our syllabus. So, as far as English is concerned, I am going to I am going to explain before you which are the chapters which have been deducted from your syllabus. So, student, first of all, note down related with prose, last two chapters, Torch Bearers and Our Indian Music. They have been deducted from your syllabus. Now, there are only 4 topics in your syllabus, okay? First, second, third, fourth, The Enchanted Pool, A Letter to God, The Ganga and Socrates, okay? So, you will read all these 4 chapters for your annual examination and for your coming exam and test. And as far as poetry part is concerned, last poem, The Nation Builders, will be removed from your syllabus. And in supplementary, last story, My Greatest Olympic Prize, that one is also deducted from your syllabus. So 2 chapters, 1 poem, and last 2 chapters, last 1 poem and last 1 story. These chapters have been deducted from your syllabus. Now you don't need to prepare the notes and all these things related with the chapter. In your coming unit test and in your term examination and pre-board all these examination, these things या these chapters will not be included. इनसे अब आपसे आगे questions put up नहीं किए जाएंगे. So and now come to the topic, जैसे our recent topic, अब हम इस पे focus करेंगे. So student, as far narration is concerned, in my previous video lecture, I told you what is the meaning of narration and how we are going to express our thought in 2 ways, in direct form of narration and indirect form of narration. And what are the basic 5 rules when we are going to transfer from direct form of narration into indirect form of narration. And the other important thing related with the narration, there are 5 types of sentences: assertive, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory, and operative. There are 5 types of sentences which we are going to transfer from direct form of mode into indirect form of narration. Okay. As far as we will ponder one by one. As far as assertive is concerned, first of all, we will apply all these 5 rules related with the assertive sentence. All these things were very well explained in our previous video lecture. So student, today, before going through the chapter, I want to explain where we are not going to change 3 important rules out of 5. जो हमने 5 कॉमन रूल्स हैं, उनमें से आपके जो 2 मेन इंपॉर्टेंट रूल्स हैं, उनको आपको किस कंडीशन में चेंज नहीं करना है. ठीक. Once again, I am going to repeat those 5 rules. First was change of reporting verb. चेंज ऑफ रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब, है ना. सबसे पहले जब आप डायरेक्ट टू इनडायरेक्ट फॉर्म में ट्रांसफर कर दें तो रिपोर्टिंग यानी इन्वर्टेड कॉमा से बाहर वाले पार्ट का वर्ब चेंज कर दें. ठीक. एंड सेकंड उसमें कंजक्शन आप यूज करते हैं. कंजक्शन अकॉर्डिंग टू टाइप्स ऑफ सेंटेंस, उसको चेक करके. और थर्ड में आप रिपोर्टेड स्पीच का सब्जेक्ट चेंज करते हैं. ओके, रिपोर्टेड स्पीच सब्जेक्ट. and then verb of reported speech. Verb of reported speech. And finally, the words denoting place and time. Time, place and distance. So student, in some conditions we are not going to change the tense and reporting change of reporting verb. कुछ conditions हैं जिनमें हम आपके reported speech के verb को change नहीं करेंगे. So today in this video lecture we will explain what are the condition where we are not going to change the tense of reported speech. Means आप conjunction change करेंगे according to types of sentence. Suppose first of all we have started assertive, so according to assertive sentence given in reported speech we will change our reporting verb and we will apply conjunction. और reported speech का subject यानी जो आपका रूल है ना, फर्स्ट पर्सन अकॉर्डिंग टू सब्जेक्ट, सेकंड पर्सन अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑब्जेक्ट एंड थर्ड पर्सन नो चेंज. तो ये फैक्टर आपके हर टाइप के सेंटेंस में अप्लाई होंगे, वेदर वी आर गोइंग टू ट्रांसफर assertive sentence, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory or optative. But as far as verb of reported speech is concerned, we are not going to change in some condition. What are these conditions where we are not going to, where we are not going to change the verb of the sentence? They are first of all universal truth. ठीक है, universal truth. Universal truth you know, universal truth you know, शाश्वत सत्य है ना. द मैन इज मॉर्टल. वो इंडिया में हो, अमेरिका में हो, कहीं पर भी हो, तो मनुष्य मरणशील है. ये प्रकृति के नियम है जिसमें कोई चेंज नहीं होता. तो जो यूनिवर्सल लॉ ऑफ नेचर है, यूनिवर्सल ट्रूथ है ना, उनके टेंस में हम कोई चेंज नहीं करते. एंड सेकेंड, जो हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट होते हैं, ठीक है, जो हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स होते हैं, हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स मीन्स जिस ईयर में जो हैपनिंग हुई है, जो जैसे कि आपका जो पानीपत का बैटल जिस ईयर में लड़ा गया, आप उस ईयर को चेंज नहीं कर सकते. दैट्स व्हाई हियर यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज द टेंस ऑफ द वर्ब. एंड हैबिचुअल फैक्ट्स, हैबिचुअल फैक्ट्स, हैबिचुअल फैक्ट्स है ना, द काउ इज जेंटल है ना, ये नेचर है. बनाना इज स्वीट. अब ऐसा नहीं कि आप उसके टेस्ट को चेंज कर सकते. तो इस तरह से वो चीज़ें चेंज नहीं होती हैं. कुछ और कंडीशंस होती हैं, जैसे जो कंडीशनल सेंटेंस होते हैं, कंडीशनल सेंटेंस में कुछ ऐसी इमेजिनेशन होती हैं कि वो ना थी, ना है, ना होंगी. ठीक, तो उनके टेंस में भी हम कोई चेंज नहीं करते, बिकॉज वो यूनिवर्सल है. वो भी एक तरीके से यूनिवर्सल है. सपोज ना आपके रिपोर्टेड स्पीच में हो कि जो इफ़ ही वर अ किंग, यदि वो एक राजा होता, तो ना है और ना उसे होना है. दैट इज़ मेयर इमेजिनेशन. ठीक, तो इस तरह की जो परिकल्पनाएं होती है, मेयर इमेजिनेशन होते हैं, उनके टेंस में भी हम कोई चेंज नहीं करते हैं. ओवरऑल अगर कहें तो वो ये है कि जिस चीज़ के में प्रकृति की तरफ से कोई भी चेंज नहीं होता, उस टेंस के, उसके टेंस में हम भी कोई चेंज नहीं करते हैं. ठीक है, वो यूनिवर्सल ट्रूथ है, जैसे अर्थ मूव्स राउंड द सन, तो वो ऐसा नहीं कि आप चेंज कर सकते हो. ठीक, तो ग्रेविटी के रूल्स हैं, साइंस के रूल्स हैं, और नेचर के जो रूल्स हैं, लॉ हैं, और जो बाई गॉड जो भी चीज़ें डिस्क्राइब कर दी गई, पर्टिकुलर बना दी गई हैं, उस नेचर के उस ड्यूरेशन में, उसके प्रोसेशन में, उसके सेटिंग में हम कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकते. और इसलिए इस तरह के जो फैक्टर्स आते हैं आपके रिपोर्टेड स्पीच में, इन सच टाइप ऑफ सेंटेंसेस वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज द टेंस ऑफ द रिपोर्टेड स्पीच. हम उसके टेंस में, उसके वर्ब में कोई भी चेंज नहीं करते. टेंस यू नो, जस्ट you keep in your mind that present indefinite is going to change into past indefinite, present continuous in past continuous. तो present is all the sentence of present is converted into past ना. present indefinite, past indefinite में present continuous, past continuous, present perfect, past perfect, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous. As far as past is concerned, past indefinite is changed into past perfect, and past continuous will be changed into past perfect continuous. and past perfect and past perfect continuous will no change. तो आपके अगर इसमें पास्ट परफेक्ट ऑलरेडी रिपोर्टेड स्पीच का जो सेंटेंस है दैट इज गिवन इन पास्ट परफेक्ट सेंटेंस, पास्ट परफेक्ट टेंस सॉरी, और पास्ट परफेक्ट कंटिन्यूअस टेंस, then you are not going to change the tense of the sentence. Okay, so these are the conditions when you are not going to change the tense of the sentence. And you will change reporting verb, you will change conjunction, and you will change subject of reported speech according to your rule you know, first person according to subject, second person. जब ये according वर्ड हम यूज करते हैं तो उसका मतलब आपको समझ में आता है। according means first person according to subject means सब्जेक्ट जिस रिपोर्टिंग का सब्जेक्ट जिस पर्सन ने दिया है, रिपोर्टेड स्पीच का जो पर्सन है वो सब्जेक्ट है वो उसी पर्सन में चेंज होगा। ठीक है, दिस इज द पर्टिकुलर मीनिंग ऑफ अकॉर्डिंग। सो स्टूडेंट, दीज आर 5 कॉमन रूल्स and with the help of these 5 common rules we are going to change the sentence from a direct into indirect form and narration. And today you have to keep in your mind that in universal truth, in historical fact, in habitual fact, in conditional sentence and in past perfect and past perfect continuous change जो है वो आप टेंस को चेंज नहीं करेंगे। and some other thing just like your proverb, you know, proverbs are also based on universal truth. So your proverbs, if in reported speech proverb is given, you are not going to change the tense of the sentence. So student, keep all these things in your mind and then we will continue our chapter from assertive into interrogative. In our next video lecture we will start interrogative sentence and you have to do exercise on page 167, exercise 19.3. there are 15 sentences and first 4 sentences I am going to explain as an example before you. First sentence, Abdul said to Khalil, I want to eat some apples. So student, Abdul is a subject of reporting, it will remain same, and reporting verb is concerned, as far as reporting verb is concerned, as sentence given in reported speech is present indefinite tense, so it will remain said. The Abdul told Khalil, क्या बताया? A sentence is in assertive structure, so what will be the conjunction? Conjunction will be that. Abdul told Khalil that he wanted, है ना, आपका जो रिपोर्टिंग है वो पास्ट में है तो इसका सेंटेंस बदलेगा I wanted to eat some apples. Second one, Joseph said to James, my father is going to Kanpur. Joseph told James that his father was going to Kanpur. Satya said to Arvind, I shall give you 5 rupees today. Satya told Arvind that she, है ना, फर्स्ट पर्सन अकॉर्डिंग टू सब्जेक्ट। ठीक, तो सब्जेक्ट इज इन फर्स्ट पर्सन एंड योर सब्जेक्ट ऑफ रिपोर्टिंग इज इन थर्ड पर्सन। सो अकॉर्डिंग टू सत्या it will be changed into she, it will be changed into she. Satya told Arvind that she would give him 5 rupees that day. I said to my friend, my black horse died yesterday. I told my friend that my चूँकि फर्स्ट पर्सन आपका रिपोर्टिंग का वर्ब भी फर्स्ट पर्सन में, सो I told my friend that my black horse had died. Past indefinite we change into past perfect. Had died the previous day. Yesterday is changed into the previous day. So student, you have to continue the exercise and you have to write down in your fair copy. In our next video lecture, I will provide you answer sheet and you have to tell your exercise. Till that, have a nice day.